Hello guys, this is CTK Gamer, and today this is going to be the third video in a multiple-part series of how to play Civilization, the board game, with both Fame and Fortune and Wisdom and Warfare expansions. Today I'll be telling you how to do the start of turn phase, which is the very first step. During the start of turn phase, you can do two of two things if you'd like. The first thing you can do is switch governments. The second thing you can do is to build a new city. So let's start out with switching governments. You unlock new governments by getting tech cards that unlock them. And to know what that looks like, we gotta wait for the camera to focus. Well, that's actually doing pretty good. See, it says democracy, then that red symbol. If you see that red symbol, you know it unlocks something. This tech unlocks democracy. So now we have democracy that we're able to use. So there is a little weird step for switching governments, but it makes pretty good sense, I think. So basically, the research step is step 5. If you literally, in the last research step, literally the last phase, so one turn ago, just research something that unlocked a government, now in start of turn, when it's your turn, you can go ahead and switch to that government. So let's say we were at despotism. Now we can switch straight to democracy. But let's say that we researched that, we waited a turn, maybe waited another turn, and we're at despotism, by the way. So we're at despotism right now. It's been multiple turns since we unlocked that. Since we haven't just unlocked that recently, we have to first switch through the anarchy government. Anarchy is, I believe, on the back of the fundamentalism card. And its ability is basically, it's bad. Your social policies have no effect, and you cannot take any actions with your capital. So, if you wait more than one turn to switch to a new government that's unlocked, then you have to first go one turn through anarchy. So you're in anarchy, and then the next start of turn phase, so one turn later, now you can switch to any unlocked government. So that is the main thing for governments. Now, one thing I need to note about almost all the phases that I probably should have done in the last video, but I didn't think about it. This is the first player token. Right now it's on the Zulu. So what this means is there's the 5 phases. So in each phase, the Zulu goes first. So the Zulu will do the start of turn phase, then the Greeks will. Then the Zulu will do the trade phase, then the Greeks, and so on and so forth. So then they'll do city management, then Greeks will do city management, and back and forth until they get to research. Research is done simultaneously. And then, when it comes to the next turn, it switches, and the Greeks will go first in everything. So the Zulu do not do everything, and then the Greeks do everything. It's every other one for each individual phase. So, probably thought I should mention that. So that's how you switch governments again. So, now let's talk about building a new city. Let's just set up a couple examples here. Let's pretend that these are flipped over. And see, we've got, 1, 2, 3 huts and a village. Let's put them out there. One more. There we go. Let's see here. Now remember, abilities that are listed on text, other cards, or your leader sheet always trump these rules. But these are the basic rules. So at the start of turn, you have to have a scout in a legal place to build a city. If it's an illegal space, you destroy the scout, get the next city, place it on its unreinforced side, and put it in that square, and immediately you then get your next social policy, which you can choose from. However, it has to be in a legal space, and that's the tricky part. So remember, the outskirts are the 8 spaces around a city. The main rule is that those outskirts have to be clear. Now, what do they have to be clear of is a little tricky. So first of all, some obvious things. They can't have an enemy figure in what would be its outskirts. That wouldn't work. They cannot have hut or village tokens, so that wouldn't work. Their outskirts have to be visible, so it can't be next to an unexplored map tile. And its outskirts have to exist, so it can't be next to the edge of a board. So basically, empty of tokens, empty of enemy units, figures if you want to call it that, empty of unexplored map tiles, and empty of an edge of the board. And also, you cannot build it, obviously, on water. Now, let's say that we're ready. Just pretend these aren't here, okay? Actually, let's just say we explored them already, and they're gone. Now, we're on the start of turn, and we build a city here. Well, first of all, you have to have your city limits. I don't know what you'd call it. But basically, you start out as being able to build 2 cities, have 2 cities at a time, that is. And in order to build your last city, your third city, you have to get the level 2 tech irrigation. And so, let's say we already have a city and we want to build another one. We can't unless we have the irrigation tech. Okay? So let's say we just built that there. We now get rid of the scout. It goes back to our pile. And let's pretend that this army was here. Figures can never end their turn or movement in a city center. So we get 1 free move just to move it to one adjacent space, not diagonals. Okay? So we can move it there, 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 or there. It's up to us. So let's say we move it there. Okay? So now that is there, and when we collect trade during the next turn, we'll also collect the ones from this outskirts. Okay? Now, there is one thing I forgot to mention about where you can put cities, and I'm really glad I mentioned it because it's a big deal. It makes sense, though. So basically, remember the outskirts have to be clear. The last thing they have to be clear of is other city outskirts, obviously. So let's just pretend that this is an explore map tile. Its outskirts overlap with this city's outskirts. See? These two overlap, and that is illegal. Same with enemy cities, your cities next to enemy cities. You cannot do that. You can't have them overlap. Okay, so we've built our new city. So now what we can do is grab our social policies. We can't switch this one, so we have to keep it as it is. Then you can look through these, decide what you want, and set it next to this one. So now you'll have 2 social policies if you were to build the city. But since this is just an example, I have to one-handedly put this back. I don't think one-handedly is a word. Okay, so that is the basics of the start of turn phase.